Let's start with how you came up with the story.
Actually, I started as a ski filmmaker.
Yeah.
So between I was like 20 and 25, I was traveling around Europe and North America and filming skiing in the winters and editing in the summers. So, and then I started on film school. And I mean, Force Majeure is my fourth feature film, and I have been trying to find an idea or a situation that made it possible for me to make a feature film in a ski resort. Because I wanted to get back into that environment, but it's quite hard to find a situation that is interesting enough because it's such a kitschy world. Everybody's dressed in neon colors, and they have like those mirror lenses in the Googles, and they are like wealthy people that is total control of their lives. So, but it actually started with that I saw a YouTube clip of tourists staying on an outdoor restaurant and seeing an avalanche coming closer and closer to the restaurant. And I was interested in the 3 seconds when the reactions went from joyful cheering to screams in panic. And I thought it was so interesting to have those two very different moods so close to each other. One thing that we really want to experience, like spectacular events, and when life is very present, and the thing that we are most afraid of, that is fear of death. And it was the exact same thing as in the film. It's only the snow smoke that reaches the restaurant. So all the restaurant guests had to go back, and they were like dealing with a little bit of embarrassment and or feeling ashamed of maybe exaggerating the fear, or so that was like the starting point. And then I started to elaborate that it was a family on the outdoor restaurant, and when I told about this situation to a friend of mine, he said, "What about if it's only the father that runs away and he has to come back?" And suddenly I realized here we have this is possible to build a feature film around this incident. So after he actually said that, the thing with the father, it was crystal clear for me. So okay, we're going to build it around one ski week. On the second ski day, this incident with the avalanche happens, and the rest of the film will be like an emotional roller coaster that the family is thrown forwards and backwards in.
I read that it was initially supposed to be 3 stories before it got pared down, so maybe kind of like Involuntary. What were the other 2 stories going to be?
It was the bus journey.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was one that I could combine with the avalanche, but it was a queue to a ferry. So a couple of girls being on a vacation to Berlin and then going back to Sweden and standing in a car queue and waiting to get onto a ferry, and they had like a standby ticket. So, and it's a quite long queue. So it was like, almost like immigrants or something like that. But when the incident with avalanche were developed and this came off with the father, it was quite easy to take away the other stories.
And what is it about the class system there and the local culture that is like related to ski resorts? Like, can you maybe give some context to like what skiing means locally? And
when it comes to the social, economical aspects of it, I was interested in it from a historical aspect. I mean, the modern ski resort was created in the 50s and the 60s in the French Alps, and you can see those kind of complex just put down into the mountains, and it's a total economical plan built up around the nuclear family. And I mean, I was interested in actually watching the nuclear family from an historical aspect also, because we see it as something so fundamental in our lives. But if we look at the late 1800s, the large family was the way that we were living our lives. And when the industrial economical were started in the cities, people were moving into the cities, and we have to move into small flats, and therefore we couldn't live with our grandparents anymore. So we invented the term nuclear family, and we said to ourselves, the most important things for the kids are the mom and the father. But I mean, the nuclear family is such a much more fragile family construction than the large family. I mean, because if the father and the mother is not working or is dysfunctional in any way, the children is much more exposed than if they have like the grandparents around them. So I was interested in like in the ski resort because the kind of lifestyle that we have today that is totally how to say, based on a consuming nuclear family is very attached to that kind of living.
And the behavior of any given one of the family members, like if they do something like run away from the avalanche, how does that affect that dynamic? It made me think of the teacher in Involuntary, like, you know, how if you do something, there's a repercussion for the tribe, I guess.
I mean, I read like 2 different sociological studies. One was about airplane hijackings. And you can tell that the frequency of divorce was extremely high after airplane hijacking. So I thought it was interesting that even though that you survived and everybody is well, people had seen a side of their partner that was like, I don't want to continue living with this person. And so for me, that was pointing out like the role of the man is to stand up for the family if there is a sudden threat. And the conventional role of a woman is that she should take care of the kids during longer terms. It's just something interesting that we are stepping into those roles as soon as we are starting a relationship, and that we are not aware of that there are so many expectations on us because of the gender. And of course it has to do with group mentality and group behavior also. For example, when Thomas is crying this worst man cry scene, he's not crying in a very poetic way. He's just the weakest animal in the herd. That creates aggression rather than sympathy.
Is that survival kind of instinct? I like how, you know, society may look down upon it. Like it may look down on the man moving, and it kind of reminded me of play. Like these robberies are kind of self-preservation as well, but when you try to stop it, there's the woman at the end that's like, no, like this is like, these are disadvantaged people, like that tension between self-preservation and societal struggle. I found that really interesting in it, but also the fact that it, with the family, it has to do with the kind of, I don't know, belonging to a group that, you know, you haven't chosen necessarily, and it seems like with what you were saying about gender, maybe the men don't necessarily want that.
Well, I guess if you look at the film history, I think the most reproduced portray of a woman is a sex object, and when it comes to men, it's the hero. So. And if you look at statistic, what happens in real life, for example, I read an investigation about ferry catastrophes. So if you look at from Titanic to Estonia, the percentage of survivors are men in a certain age, and the one that dies are women and kids. So the expectations on the man is that he should stand up for his family when there's a sudden threat. The thing is that the man actually have the ability of acting egoistic when it's needed.